When I Want to Hold Your Hand soared to the top of the US charts, Paul McCartney and John Lennon found themselves under pressure to produce another smash hit. The Beatles had already captured the hearts of fans in the UK and Europe, but in February 1964, their rapid rise to #1 in America skyrocketed their fame to new heights. Just days before they touched down in New York for their first US performance, I Want to Hold Your Hand had swiftly claimed the top spot. The song would go on to dominate the charts for 7 weeks, sparking a wave of Beatlemania across the United States. As this frenzy unfolded, the band was touring Paris when they received news of their chart-topping success. Paul McCartney immediately rushed to the hotel piano to begin writing what would become their next big hit. The result was Can't Buy Me Love. Paul explained that the song was his attempt at crafting a bluesy mode. He went on to clarify that the central idea was that material wealth could never buy him what he truly desired. The song itself was undeniably catchy, and Paul felt honored when jazz legend Ella Fitzgerald later covered it. Though John Lennon openly acknowledged that the song was predominantly Paul's work, he also claimed to have contributed to the chorus, though he wasn't entirely sure of the details. In a 1980 interview, he recalled that he had always considered Can't Buy Me Love to be Paul's song, despite his small contribution. When Paul first presented the song to their producer George Martin, George suggested a few changes. He felt the song needed an intro and a tag at the end. George recalled that he had altered the song's opening lines and the ending to allow for a smoother transition back into the verse, a suggestion that was ultimately accepted by the band. The song's initial recordings took place in Paris on January 29, 1964. It was then finalized at Abbey Road the following month and released as a single in both the UK and US in March. On the B-side was John Lennon's You Can't Do That. Can't Buy Me Love was an immediate success, selling 2 million copies in its first week and holding the top spot on the US Billboard Top 100 charts for 5 consecutive weeks. It provided the Beatles with the follow-up hit they had been hoping for. The song was also featured in the 1964 film A Hard Day's Night and its accompanying album. However, some listeners misinterpreted the song's meaning, with some even suggesting it had links to prostitution. Paul was quick to dismiss this theory, stating that while people could interpret songs however they liked, suggesting that Can't Buy Me Love was about a prostitute was simply too far-fetched. He explained that the song's message was about how material possessions may be nice, but they would never bring him what he truly wanted. Despite the confusion over the song's meaning, Paul acknowledged the song's success, noting that it performed well on both sides of the Atlantic, topping the charts in both the UK and the US at the same time. However, he humorously added that it was dethroned from the #1 spot in the UK by A World Without Love, a song he had written for Peter Asher, the brother of his then-girlfriend Jane Asher,